Hello everyone. Buyout is the main reason why certain vintage cards is increasing in price. Today I want to explain you what is a buyout and how buyout is affecting the price of these cards. First of all, what is a buyout? A buyout is when an individual or a set of individuals attempt to buy the supply of a particular product from the market. Therefore, once the supply is decreased, the price is increased, and therefore these individuals will sell back that supply at a higher price and thus making a profit. Before going how a buyout is affecting the price of vintage cards, first of all I need to explain you, in a very brief explanation, the law of demand and supply. Demand and supply, we have price versus quantity, you have supply, and you have demand. I believe that in case of Magic the Gathering, demand is quite constant at a particular price. Therefore, if the price is increased, demand will fall, and if the price is decreased, demand will increase, but not that much. Supply, I believe supply of standard cards is unlimited. Wizards of the Coast can print as much as they want. Therefore, supply for standard cards is very high. But when it comes to vintage cards, especially reserved list cards, then things are different. In case of vintage cards or reserved list cards, supply is not unlimited. Supply is very limited. And in this case, demand is also constant and high. People want these cards because of their nostalgia of the old days, because of their rarity, and therefore demand is high. But the supply is low. And therefore, at one point in time in the market, the demand is equal to the supply, and therefore we have our price. Let's see what happens if we have excess supply of a particular card. This is a reference to the current standard cards, where obviously, as I said, supply is quite unlimited. Wizards of the Coast can print as much as they want. Therefore, in that case, there is an excess of supply, and the demand obviously is not enough for the supply, and therefore the price will fall to P3. Now, in case of a reserved list card. A reserved list card, as I said, the supply is very limited. Demand is high. Therefore, the price of the card is quite high. When there is an excess in demand, when people want more of a particular card and supply cannot be increased, the price will go high. And therefore that's why it goes to P4. This is the scenario that we are facing now with buyout. Buyout, if a card is being supplied at this point of quantity and demand is being demanded at this point of quantity, therefore price is equal where demand and supply meet. In case of a buyout, the supply of the card is being decreased. Therefore we have to go down this axle. If the supply of the card is decreased because of the buyout and demand remains the same and increases, as you can see this axis, the price of the card does not fall to P5 but go up to P4. This is the effect of a buyout, and this is why when there is a particular buyout of a particular card, the price goes up. Eventually, what can reduce the price of a card in case of a buyout? The only thing that can reduce the price of a particular card is to increase the supply. But remember that in case of reserved list cards, supply is limited. Supply of these cards is very limited, and there's only one particular reason. And I think you know what this reason is. The reserved list. Supply of reserved list cards is limited because Wizard of the Coast gives you a guarantee of 100% that a card will not be reprinted. Remember, the reprint policy of Wizard of the Coast states that any card on the reserve list will not be reprinted. Therefore, supply is limited, and that's why when there is a buyout, the price goes skyrocketing. Because you cannot put cards in the market to reduce the price. You cannot adjust the market. Supply of reserve list cards is limited, and there will be a guarantee that will not be reprinted. That's why buyouts targets only reserved list cards. Also, buyouts target a particular segment of cards that probably will not also be reprinted. And in this case, I'm talking about expeditions, masterpieces, inventions, and invocations. Let's go back to reserve list cards. This is a chart which is telling you how much cards have been printed in these sets. These are the most expensive sets in Magic the Gathering. If you have a card from these sets, Alpha, Beta, Unlimited, Arabian Nights, Antiquities, or Legends, if you have cards from these sets, you're in for a good profit. Only 1,100 cards, rare cards, have been printed for Alpha. Only 3,200. Only 18,500. 20,500 for Arabian Nights U2. 31,000 for U1. 19,500 for Legends. You can imagine why the supply of these cards is very limited and why people are targeting for these cards. If you take Legends, if you take the Tabernacle of Pendervale, there's only 19,500 printed, and you can imagine how much today, 25 years later, they are left in mint condition. That's why the Tabernacle of Pendervale is $2,000 a card. Some examples of buyouts where price was increased. I think the first buyout that I remember was Moat, where we see that the price of Moat skyrocketed from 300 to nearly 1,000, and now it adjusted itself to 645. This is the effect of a buyout of a particular card. It is nearly 110% of the original price. Another buyout, this is the second one that I remember, Lion's Eye Diamond. You can see Lion's Eye Diamond was in the range of $40. It went up to 250. It went down again, probably because Mirage is much more printed than the other sets. And then we have another sky in today. Currently, Lion's Eye Diamond is being traded at $270. Another example of a particular buyout, Bazaar of Baghdad. This card was a buyout by Rudy from Alpha Investments. You can see that the card was trading in the range of $700, $800. It skyrocketed to $2,500, and now it's back to $1,100. This is a big and a very big profit for Rudy that bought these cards. Something of today, another buyout, and now it's the Tabernacle at Pendervale. Remember, there is only 19,500 of this card in mint condition. I don't think there are a lot of these cards. This card was always between 1,000, 1,500, and now skyrocketed to 3,000. Depending on the card, depending on the demand of the card, the Tabernacle Pendervale, it's a unique card, therefore demand is high. The effect of a buyout is higher when demand for a particular card is higher. Demand for a particular card is increased only if a card has a particular mechanic that fits in a particular deck, and that this deck is a tier 1 deck. That's why demand and supply affects buyout, and that's why buyout, when there's an attempt buyout of a reserve list card, the price skyrocketing. If you try to buy out a card in standard like Karn Sion of Erza, if you try to buy out that card, probably you increase the price by a couple of dollars, but the effect on a reserve list card is much greater. In this case, we are talking about 120, 100 to 50% increase in price. Subscribe to my channel. Here there is the subscribe button for more interesting video about Magic the Gathering, especially those concerning the community. Thank you very much.